Greetings and a warm welcome to all of our guests. I'm Commander Helen Wong. Cathay Post 384 is a name that needs no introduction in San Francisco. We have been a part of the city landscape and the Chinatown community for nearly a century. The Cathay Post history began in 1918 during the Great War.
Coming everywhere, so prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.
Chinese Americans served the United States Army as part of the Allied Expeditionary Forces in France. They fought and gave their lives during the Great War in 1918. After the armistice in 1919, our veterans came home. There was a great need for veteran service organizations across the country. The American Legion was created out of that necessity. Founded in 1930, officially chartered in 1931, Post 384 was the first all-Chinese American Legion post and service organization established in the United States after the First World War.
This is the Battle of China. This, the fearful beginning of a new kind of war. This, the first mass bombing from the air of a helpless civilian population.
During the Japanese invasion of China, during the Second Sino-Japanese War, the Chinese community and the post was involved with the rice bowl drives in China war relief. Adolf Hitler and the Nazi war machine invades Poland on September 1. World War II begins.
America was preparing for the winds of war as it enacted its first peacetime draft in October 1940.
For the first time in our history, we began mobilizing an army while still at peace.
This is the Army, Mr. Jones. No private room for telephone.
In Chinatown, the rush is just as great and enthusiastic as elsewhere.
Chinese American draftees were among the first.
Chinese Americans were mobilized in the peacetime draft of 1940. Post 384 mobilized its members to support the country's patriotic causes.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
Pearl Harbor would be the beginning of World War II for America. Up to 20,000 Chinese Americans entered military service. It was another time, another place, another war.
Chinese American personnel were now engaged in combat operations around the world. They fought at Guadalcanal, the China-Burma-India Theater, from North Africa to Sicily, from the Normandy invasion to the German Rhineland, from the Pacific to the Mediterranean and European theater of operations. Chinese Americans helped to defeat our enemies on all fronts.
Chinese Americans came back from World War II to Chinatown to start a new life, new families, and new opportunities in the post-war. Post 384 grew to 1,200 members as a result.
Korea, United Nations troops push on in the cautious advance against the communists. An advance whose purpose, General Ridgway states, is not to seize ground, but to wipe out the enemy. The Chinese Red Army, fighting desperately in small isolated stands, prefers to give ground on wider fronts rather than join battle. And it's up to the infantry to clear out the pockets of die-hard communists.
An American base somewhere in South Korea prepares for another attack on the Reds by jet fighter bombers. Warnings like these are dropped to the civilian population, and for those who can't read, there are pictures to tell of the impending raid. Then, loaded with bombs and rockets, the fighters are off to harass the enemy's supply lines and war installations.
During the Korean War conflict, Post 384, under the leadership of Commander John C. Young, secured the support with the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 4618 to create a major Chinese-American memorial to honor its fallen comrades from World War I and World War II. It was the first memorial of its kind in the United States, located at St. Mary's Square Park. In the 1960s, Post 384 was very active with its own drum and bugle corps and various activities in the community.
My fellow Americans, as President and Commander-in-Chief, it is my duty to the American people to report that renewed hostile actions against United States ships on the high seas in the Gulf of Tonkin have today required me to order the military forces of the United States to take action in reply.
Throughout the oppressive days and nights of June 1966, Operation Hawthorne continued. In the violent conflict which rages in Kon Province, the Screaming Eagles repeatedly beat back prize troop units of the North Vietnamese Army. In 16 straight days of combat, the brigade envelops the 24th North Vietnamese Army Regiment, and more than 500 of the communist aggressors are killed. It is the largest single battle of the war for the men of the 101st.
Go.
Hi, I'm Special Smell Seeker, and I'm taking you live. Finally in the south central part of Kuwait. Yes, the ceasefire is on, and it looks like we made it. In fact, it's been a long time since I've talked to you since we were at the ISA. Bravo Battery has made it through the war with 0 casualties.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign.
Post 384 transitioned into the 1980s and beyond with the changing landscape of the city and Chinatown. From 2003 to 2007, Commander Bok Pon brought new direction, new vision, and energy to the post with the 9/11 attacks had profoundly affected Americans. Iraq and Afghanistan would be the face of new conflicts, which would last for 2 decades. We remember our past commanders for their dedicated leadership in guiding our posts and community forward.
It is my distinct honor to award this Congressional Gold Medal to Grace T. Lee for your service during World War II, for your loyalty and your dedication to our country's service.
It is my pleasure, and I am grateful for a nation that's granted me the opportunity to education and appreciation to all the freedom I have enjoyed my entire life. Thank you.
The American Legion Cathay Post 384 is honored to have you all attend our special 90th Anniversary Awards Banquet. We look forward to the future and your continued support into the next century. Please enjoy the wonderful evening.